I wanted to explore more about my community. It's not that I don't know about my community, but most of us know sort of a surface level. I wanted to delve deeper and really understand the community from a different, from many aspect and perspective, and how I can translate that into a documentary photography or documentary filmmaking lah. So what interested me also in my first my project before this documentary was I was trying to discover more about my great grandfather, but there was not enough because I was doing a documentary photography course, so there was not enough pictures of him. So anyhow, the pictures were taken of him was not mainly um, I would say people take, I mean, it was more like people taking his picture as a moment happened. It's not like he himself went and did the portrait. His name is Singaram. Singaram Tambiran. I hope I got that right. His name is Singaram. So mainly it's just either snapshots. I've never seen a picture of him in a portrait or something like that. So I wanted to explore more about how communities use photography as a way of expressing themselves, studio portrait or something like that. And then the idea, when I kept doing research, then I understood that the camera itself is actually, the power of photography lies on the person who's behind the camera. So if you look at pre-colonial or even during colonial times, the indentured laborers that came here, they didn't have any means of control or any say in how they are portrayed in photography. So I looked at this opportunity as for me to represent the community as they wanted themselves to be represented. So, which is where I embarked on the Skeletons of Empire, which is my other project before this. The documentary film Don't Rock the Boat is sort of a continuation of it. So, Skeletons of Empire look more into the history and also how Indians were brought here, as also it actually looked at rubber as a colonial commodity, but labor was also a commodity as well. So it followed that storyline, and that was more a historical and a little bit of contemporary aspect of what the community is like. But this is also dealt with a little bit of history, but more like the contemporary Malaysian Indian in Malaysia at the moment lah. That is what Don't Rock the Boat is about lah. So I wanted to explore that that meaning of home. What does home mean? Is it a country or physical building or group of people and all that idea lah. So I didn't want, it was me trying to discover that through myself, but I didn't want it to be about myself. I wanted to find out also about what the community feels. They've been here for even before independence and pre-colonial times, and how do they feel now in the current climate or environment that they're in after being here for more than, basically, like, I mean, if you're looking at before pre-colonial, that's way longer. But if you look at the time where the mass migration happened about more than 100 years ago, how are they feeling now? Do they feel at home in Malaysia? The title Don't Rock the Boat actually came from one of, if you remember, Comedy Court. So Comedy Court is actually a sketch, a duo who does sketches, and part of the one of the sketch that they did, there was a phrase where they called Don't Rock the Boat. So also Don't Rock the Boat, that phrase itself is quite common in the community, where we are being told by our elderly is don't create problems, just do what you're supposed to do, don't rock the boat, just keep quiet and live a quiet life. So it was more like a two-way. It has, people can look at it. It has an open meaning, so people can look at it as, yes, I don't want to rock the boat. Some people will say, why we shouldn't rock the boat, because we are entitled to our rights and stuff like that. So the whole documentary doesn't have, it's more polemic, so it doesn't take side. It explores all aspects. I wanted more reachability, so it was not only for the Malaysian Indian community, it was for anyone and everyone. That's always been my concept. Anyone can watch it. And also there's this misconception that when it comes to Malaysian Indians, it automatically means Tamil. I am Tamil myself, but I feel like there's not enough awareness about the diversity within the Malaysian Indian community itself, which I also try to portray in my documentary. So the reason why I chose black and white color grading is because I found that for this subject matter and the way that I filmed it and how the visual approach of the whole documentary, I found color to be a distraction. What black and white or monochrome does to the whole documentary is it focuses people's attention to what people are talking about rather than being distracted by the colors or the details. And there's also this sort of exoticism about Indians and bright, vibrant colors and detail where people would expect. So I didn't want people to have that expectation. What I wanted was more for people to listen to the interviewees and also the voice that they are projecting. Lah. So if you look at in the aspect of doing Dr. Boat, there was not many archival material that I used because I was looking at the whole documentary as an archive by itself, because I was trying to make a social portrait of the community. So I'm documenting the community, and because the documentary is divided into two parts, one is perspective, one is opinions, and the other one is reality. So opinions is more to the general Malaysian Indian talking about their opinions and feelings. Reality is more of where I interview Malaysian Indians or people who are learned about the documentary. They are doing research or they are in the field where it involves working a lot with working a lot with Malaysian Indians. For example, Malaysian author Prita Samasaran and Kogilawani Muniandi, who's with Good Kids Malaysia, and also Sivarajan who is the Secretary General of PSM, and also Charles Santiago from DAP. So they would be able to talk about the reality that the Malaysian Indian community face. The kind of work that I do is mainly involves visual medium. So I look at the perspective of how the Malaysian Indian community is represented. So, like I said earlier, I look into archives, research papers from universities, and also read books, books from local authors, and also books that involve Malaysian Indians. For example, when I was doing Skeletons of Empire, there was a book called Devil's Milk, which was mainly about rubber. That and then mainly that, and also social media is a good research medium as well. I mean, there's a lot of things that you need to filter out, but it's a good place to get not only get ideas but to get references.
Yeah.
Plantation life as well. Google's plantation life. Right. What he's doing is extremely important. We need those. I hope he keeps all that footage lah. We really need that, yeah, because there's not enough conversation about the Malaysian Indian community, whether it's good or bad. It doesn't matter. It's important that we talk about it and we try to understand more. It's just that, like I said earlier, it's the idea is also looking at Malaysia as a home. So for us to understand our home, rather than having a home where the lights, very limited lights are switched on, it's important for us to try to get as much light in. So that's the sort of metaphorical thing that I was looking at lah. So mainly it's just that so people can have conversation about the Malaysian Indian community. So when people watch the documentaries, when I do screenings, the during the screenings, what I do is before the screening, I gave to the audience the questionnaire. There's about 45 questions in the questionnaire. So I gave a copy of that, the same questionnaire that I used to interview people, to everyone, so that they can also see, once they've read through the question, they can see the sort of they can relate to the documentary or what the people are saying in the documentary, and also they can take back the questionnaire home, where they can also use it themselves. Like for example, because the documentary talks about and addresses a lot of difficult questions that we don't want to talk about. So people can start having that conversation. Like for example, a mother and a son, or father and a daughter, or even friends, or friends from who are not Indians who would like to ask, want to know more about the community, ask questions, and ask the right questions. That there is a lot of work that needs to be done in that aspect lah. So I hope that the documentary can help us start having that conversation, and not to be very afraid of reserve to talk about our own community and our own identity and culture. So in terms of filmmaking, it's almost the same as documentary photography, but there's a lot more preparation, and also because my documentary was more interview based, it's extremely it's extremely crucial for me to capture emotions and what they say the first time. I can't get people to reenact the thing because the moment and the emotion is fleeting. So I need to be able to get it straight away or the first time. In terms of photography, I can take a few shots. But in terms of filmmaking, I need to get it right. I need to be 3 more times prepared compared to Characters of Empire. I felt photography was more the best way for me to convey, is because I was also following the concept of using photography as a way of portraying uh, what I wanted to say. So sets of images, which has meaning, that is edited in a way where people can understand the flow of the narrative. So in terms of voice represented, so documentary in Don't Rock the Boat, interview or the filmmaking method would be the best way to do it lah. There is a way of doing Don't Rock the Boat in photography way, but I felt that the impact was not as wouldn't be as good as filmmaking. But if you look at the visual approach that I use in the whole of documentary, there's a lot of locked on camera on tripod, very symmetrical, not a lot of movement. The movement is very minimal, so it's more. It does actually look like a series of photos. Yeah. So for in terms of Malaysian Indians, I hope there are more of them coming out. I hope to see more Malaysian Indian artists explore their own community. There's a lot of Malaysian Indian history that's gone, has not been documented, or it's been documented, but it's somewhere that we cannot access. So I feel that it's up to the Malaysian Indian artists or the community to take the initiative to explore, to do more research, to find ways to portray the community lah. The Malaysian industry as a whole, so they cannot only depend on, let's say, for a certain actor to be acting for the next 30 years, which is a good thing, but it's also important for us to introduce new people. So I firmly believe that building a good capacity in terms of independent or freelance artists would feed into the industry more talent and more creativity and more options for the industry. And the other thing is, I feel the state can play a really big role in terms of encouraging not only Malaysian India, but encouraging the art scene in Malaysia. So for this work particularly, I would say, if it's okay, so Mr. Janaki Raman, author, historian and author, Mr. Janaki Raman, he's very much an inspiration for this documentary as well. I wanted to interview him, but he was not available because he delved into a lot of the histories in the book that he's published, and that sort of informed me as to how to approach interviewing people in the contemporary, interview the contemporary Malaysian Indian. In terms of visuals, what I was inspired by documentary photographer called Hiroshi Sugimoto. So his concept of using black and white, it's not actually black and white, it's monochrome, shades of gray, contrast, and his visual concept of sort of squared off frames and all that was also an inspiration. There's also another documentary that have it's inspired me a lot to make this documentary. It's called Brexitania. Brexit. The important thing that I gained from this documentary is that the ability to identify and acknowledge the kind of privilege I have. In terms of personal is patience. 70 hours of 70 hours of footage takes a lot of patience and active listening. I'm very good at active listening at the moment.
So is that all?
Yes.